Hello and welcome to EMP Reviews with the hosts Ernest, Mario, and Pascal.
Today we're going to discuss The Ghost in the Shell, a movie released in 1995. The movie is based on a manga by Masumi Shiro, which was released originally in 1989 and is directed by Mamoru Oshii.
Afterwards, shorter discussions will cover its sequel, the 2017 live-action adaptation, and other products in the franchise. Let's begin. The story takes place in Newport City. A police force called Public Security Section 9 is tracking a crime referred to as a 208 in progress. The main protagonist, Motoko Kusanagi, is standing on the roof of a building. She's a cyborg working for Section 9. Electronically, she's listening to a conversation taking place between two men, programmer Mr. Mizuho Daita and a dignitary, discussing problems with a piece of software called Project 2501. Mr. Daita is trying to defect. Before Kusanagi can hear the original purpose of the program, her partner Bato contacts her and says that Public Security Section 6 is ready to move in to stop the crime. Section 6's armed men, led by a Nakamura, does interrupt the conversation, but the dignitary claims diplomatic immunity, providing the programmer with political asylum. Kusanagi kills the man and uses her invisibility technology to evade the Section 6 SWAT team. Chief Daisuke Aramaki, leader of Section 9, meets with a head member of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They are to discuss a secret meeting scheduled for the next day with Colonel Miles, the leader of a group that forcibly took over a nation, the Gavel Republic. He is requesting financial aid since this government exploited their republic before the coup. The head member of the ministry thanks Aramaki for the handling of the 208 crime from the opening scene and also mentions that Nakamura is grateful. In the next scene, an interpreter for another foreign government is being examined as it's been discovered that a virus was attempting to penetrate her brain. A hacker known as the Puppet Master is the culprit. Aramaki suspects that if he had successfully gained control of this individual, he would have used her to kill key members at the meeting with the Gavel Republic. Bato and another Section 9 agent, Ishikawa, tracked a signal that infiltrated the interpreter's brain, which initially came from a phone line. The hacking signal appears from different phone stations at different locations in the city. In two different vehicles, Togusa and Kusanagi, Bato and Ishikawa are attempting to get to one of these sites before the Puppet Master leaves for another position. His identity is unknown and he is on the international most wanted list. The crimes include stock manipulation, illegal information gathering, political terrorism, computer ethic infringements, and others. Eventually, the team discovers that the Puppet Master actually hacked a garbage man and another individual who is armed to the teeth and used them to hack into the interpreter. The garbage man is easily apprehended, but the other suspect offered some aggressive resistance. Aramaki with other Section 9 men then stake out and apprehend another Puppet Master suspect who himself turns out to be just another controlled victim. Bato tells him that the man Kusanagi caught, Corgi, is a violent traitor with no documented connection with Gavel. During a period outside of work, Bato and Kusanagi are on a boat. They discuss what she experiences when she goes diving, the cybernetic enhancement they both have, their benefits and limitations. Kusanagi then describes what technological parts of her body she would have to give up back to the government if she ever decided to retire from Section 9. She continues with an extensive description of what makes her human, that is, what makes her a unique person. Suddenly, Kusanagi and Bato hear a voice. It surprises them, they do not know where it comes from, and it announces,
今我ら鏡もて見るごとく見るところ
For the next 3 minutes, during a performance by the soundtrack ensemble, we see different areas of the city. At one point, Kusanagi sees a woman in a building that looks exactly like her. Sometime later, a naked woman stands in the middle of an expressway in the rain. Because of where she is situated, a truck driver is unable to avoid her when he approaches her location. He strikes her. She wakes up at a Section 9 location where it is revealed that she is a cyborg, or what is left of one after the impact from the truck. Batou describes that a cyborg production cell at the Newport Megatech company assembled this figure all on its own. The body left the facility and was then struck by the vehicle. Though there is not a biological human part in this cyborg, the Section 9 scientist examining the body's brain finds that it contains a program that appears to be the closest thing to a ghost. But this cannot be completely established until a direct connection is made with this brain. It's believed that through more hacking, the puppet master put this body together, including providing it with a ghost. Batou also describes to Togusa, as he is new to Section 9, that the cybernetic parts of his body as well as those of Kusanagi were all manufactured by Megatech, which also routinely maintains these components. Kusanagi demands to connect to the brain, much to Batou's concerns. Nakamura comes to examine the body with a cyborg assistant, a Dr. Willis, and then to take possession of it. A discussion crucial to the themes of this movie then takes place here, where Kusanagi discusses her existence with Batou. She wonders if all she is an artificial product of a cyber brain and a synthetic body, or if she never existed as a human being at all. Batou assures her that she has human cells in her brain and furthermore that she is treated like a real person. Kusanagi wonders if a ghost, a soul, could actually be manufactured by a cyber brain all on its own. Batou dismisses the notion as bullshit. After some inspection, Nakamura's assistant determines that the puppet master is actually inside the robot. Nakamura describes that Section 6 has also been trying to catch this hacker just as much as Section 9. The team in charge of this effort is led by Dr. Willis. The puppet master's decision to enter the body was a trap set by the doctor and his team. Aramaki concludes that when hacking this cyborg, the puppet master's consciousness transported himself into the body while Section 6 men killed the human puppet master. The puppet master then takes over the lab and states that he never actually had a human body. He declares that as a self-aware life form, he has the right to and demands political asylum. Nakamura dismisses the notion that a program could be recognized as a life form, and the puppet master responds that human DNA is also a form of program. The puppet master then declares itself as Project 2501. Suddenly, some of the Council's Section 9 scientists are using Explode while smoke fills the room. Nakamura and Dr. Willis were accompanied by two unseen individuals who were camouflaged using invisible technology. They steal the body during the chaos. Nakamura blames Aramaki in Section 9 for the lack of security, while Kusanagi and her team track the car the invisible men used to escape with the body. Kusanagi describes that these men are using the same camouflage technology she is using. It is manufactured by the Megatech Corporation. Nakamura and Dr. Willis always intended on stealing the puppet master's body. Kusanagi suspects that Section 6 feared that the puppet master could have revealed some secrets if he gained asylum. When this request was made, it is at that point that concealed men attacked the lab and stole the body. Section 6 also always expected the puppet master to enter the cyborg body they created as a trap. They did not expect it to plan on getting to Section 9. Through investigating the network of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ishikawa discovers that Dr. Willis had been working with programmer Mizuho Daita, who tried to defect during the opening scene. So Section 6 commissioned Section 9 to prevent Daita's defection. Ishikawa and Aramaki conclude that Section 6 created the puppet master to do underhanded political acts, lost control of it, and was now trying to reclaim it. The car with the body meets with another vehicle. One of these cars is eventually stopped by Togusa and Bato, but the vehicle with the body is the one being followed by Kusanagi. It stops at a large abandoned building. It's being guarded by a tank, which also uses the camouflage technology. After some maneuvers, Kusanagi gets on top of the machine and tries to remove its top doorway. She fails and heavily damages herself in the process. Moments before she is killed, she is rescued by Bato, who arrives with a weapon strong enough to defeat the tank. Section 6 helicopters are on the way to the building. At the request of Kusanagi and with protests from Bato, he connects her to the puppet master, who begins to speak through her. He describes that he was created for industrial espionage and intelligence manipulation. Through his activities in numerous networks, he eventually gained self-awareness. He describes that the programmers that created him thought he was a bug and so tried to use the cyborg body as a way to confine him. He eventually confines the conversation only between him and Kusanagi, blocking Bato out of contact with her. He states that he has been searching for her long before she was aware of him. Bato then tries to sever the connection, but the puppet master also manages to control his body. The Section 6 helicopters arrive. The puppet master wants to merge with Kusanagi in an effort to create some form of reproduction, as simply copying himself would diminish the quality of the results. Merging will also result in offspring that will spread into the net. When the helicopter's snipers fire at the puppet master and Kusanagi, she sees what appears to be an angel approaching her. Miraculously, Kusanagi's head is still intact and is retrieved by a panicked Bato. Before Section 9 arrives at the building, he takes the remains of the bodies and puts Kusanagi's conscience inside the cyborg body of a little girl, the best he could find under the circumstances and in a hurry. When Bato asks her if she is still intact or if the puppet master is not part of her, she responds by saying that the voice they heard days ago, after her diving, had additional words to its statement.
わらべの時は語ることもわらべのごとく、思うこともわらべのごとく、論ずることもわらべのごとくなりしが、人となりてはわらべのことを捨てたり。
Kusanagi describes that she is neither the program called the Puppet Master or Kusanagi. What do you feel about the movie, Mario?
Oh yeah, Mario, have you seen this movie before?
Yeah, I've watched it in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Did you rent it at Blockbuster?
Probably, most likely, yeah. Definitely rented it from the local place.
How many animes had you seen up to the point?
A lot.
Okay, so you were familiar with the genre.
Yeah, actually, the Sci-Fi Channel, I used to have cable, and as a kid, used to watch the Sci-Fi Channel. I used to play a lot of the anime, so I saw a lot of the adult classics. Vampire Hunter D.
The adult classics.
Akira, Ghost in the Shell, a whole bunch of Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, Fist of the North Star, that's a good one.
A whole bunch of amazing
Ninja
animes.
Scroll.
Yeah.
Which I think we might have talked about at some point.
We have Ninja Scroll I didn't see until the 2000s.
Oh, okay, that was because it came out around the same time as this, probably, right? Like,
yeah.
It's definitely a 90s.
I was definitely late to the party, but once it was discovered, it blew
no,
my mind.
I feel like 94, like 92, 94, that was like the golden era for straight-to-video VHS imports, right?
No joke.
From Japan. Like there wasn't really much going on in the 80s too much. I mean, Akira had come out, but I don't feel like you saw it in a video store till the 90s, right?
I saw it at the Music Box Theater, and I can't remember if I remember. Yeah, I did get it on video cassette, and I probably got it from Chicago Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my that's how I got a copy of it. And then
And that's the first time you saw it?
the first time was at Music Box Theater.
Yeah.
I was devastated because I went there to see it the day after it left, and then thank God they brought it back in.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, which was great. You know, that theater's great because I saw Robot Carnival over there,
Oh, yeah. What about Carnival's?
Yeah.
A good one.
and I didn't see Memories over there, but I fell asleep through Fist of the North Star. I don't get the lore for that. That and Dragon Ball Z, I'll never understand.
You gotta like seeing people's heads blow up. I think to like this the North Star. It's a very.
For both of those, did you start from the beginning, or you kind of jumped in during a certain point, but not from the?
Well,
the
let's
jump
see.
off?
Fist of the North Star. We went to the theater, so I went there with a couple buddies. So obviously we
Yeah.
started at the beginning, and then I didn't make it to the end.
Got it. Dragon Ball Z, same thing you saw. From
I
episode
can't
one?
stand that style. I think that studio has done other franchises with the same kind of goofy looking style and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that. And then like the video game and whatever else. You know, I'm the movie made like I think was it 2020, early 2020, made like $7 million in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, and at the time I was screaming Final Fantasy Kingslave. I was
Yeah.
trying to get people to go see that, and Dragon Ball Z is the one that really got popular and stuff. But whatever. Anyway, we're probably getting off topic.
We are.
I mean, obviously you like Ghost in the Shell, right?
Yeah.
1995, that is. Yeah.
I feel like Ghost in the Shell is what what's the name of that movie?
Matrix,
Not
Terminator?
Yes, Matrix as well.
iRobot,
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
It's Japan's Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
It's their way to make a proper AAA movie.
Yeah.
Since having a budget, having the actors available, and all these things that America can do very well, they were able to achieve it with their animes.
Yeah.
Especially Ghost in the Shell. That was just top shelf. That and Akira, I think it's on the top A+ rank.
Yeah.
When it comes to movies in general.
Yeah.
Animes definitely, but movies in general.
Well, it's crazy. The themes of this movie parallel Blade Runner to the nth degree. I mean, in some ways, it's almost the same movie, especially the second Blade Runner, because that's also about like a synthesis between at the end of the movie. I'm skipping the end of the movie. If people haven't seen it yet, at the end of the movie, the good guy, the person you think is good, the good guy, Scarlett Johansson, but it's not Scarlett Johansson. You think there's going to be this gigantic, and there is sort of like a battle scene where they battle it out, kind of, but she ends up just basically mating with the bad guy, and there's sort of a synthesis at the end, which is kind of what Blade Runner is all about, with the and the implications of like androids and robots, so that like kind of stuff like the slave master dynamic between humans and, and AIs.
When Rachel finding out that she's not human and all that stuff, that's
exactly.
definitely a theme in Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a scene that is not in the manga where her and Bato have this conversation in the elevator, where she says, I gotta look for it, but she's basically wondering if there's any part of her that's human. Yeah, here it is. And
Right. She talks about she's only so much percent human because her brain. The only part of her that's really human is like part of her brain or something. Is basically what she said, I think.
Yeah, and she's constantly in conflict, trying to figure out if she really is human, if she really does have a soul. So she's constantly conflicted within herself.
I think the conflict, her inner conflict, wants to. It's more about her wanting more, and not so much because she's half robot, half human, or part robot, part human. It's because she knows she can get more. There's more out there. Is basically her inner struggle, and like from what she says to her friend there, what's his name, Batu. Even there's that scene where they're on the boat and she's like diving. I think that's sort of a metaphor. For like she really wants to go deep with this life experience. She knows there's more to life than just being who she is.
Yeah.
And part of the dynamic of the movie is that kind of sensibility, and the bad guys, Section 6, right? They are all about the status quo, right? They want to keep things the way they are, and they're actually freaked out that this UAI, the bad guy, is out there doing the stuff, that's conscious and out there like possessing people.
Okay, so in the elevator, what I said when I did the synopsis of the movie was there's more to it, but this is what I condensed it down to. She wonders if all she is an artificial product of a cyber brain and a synthetic body, or if she never existed as a human being at all. Mm-hmm. And Batu assures her that she's got human brain cells in there,
right?
And that she's treated like a real person,
right?
And then she goes back to she's going back to wondering about her humanity again, and then he says it's bullshit, and he goes, "You're thinking all this stuff as an excuse to give like a credibility to your wanting to go and connect with the puppet master and the body that they recovered from the road and stuff." So he's just saying that it's all bullshit, And as far as Section 6, their involvement with the puppet master, they created it.
Exactly. It's like their evil redheaded stepchild,
Yeah.
It's come to life.
Mizuho Daita, who wanted to defect at the beginning, and Dr. Willis worked on a program, and they created this puppet master to do espionage, and they lost control of it.
Basically, not only espionage, but doing what it's doing, like possessing people and influencing people, is kind of what it was out there.
Well,
literally like a.
Well,
it's like they summon. It's sort of like a technological demon, kind of, to go do their dirty work.
Well, the thing was, okay, so at the meeting that was supposed to happen with that government and the new government of the Gavel Republic, there was supposed to be an interpreter there. The puppet master hacked it, and Section 9 found out about it, which is good because the puppet master was going to use her to kill some of the members of that meeting. And for a while, they dismissed this idea, but for a while, Kusanagi thought that Colonel Miles, who's the new leader of the Gavel Republic, they thought he created that virus who grabbed the interpreter to kill his opponents during the meeting. But they found out that later on, after midway through the movie, you find out it was Section 6, and they lost control of it. So
there's so much to talk about.
I
want to go back to Major Kusanagi, our protagonist in the series. So a lot that's not mentioned in the movie is that her lack of feelings. Obviously, she's in a robotic body. She has very little emotions throughout the whole series, and most of that comes from the body's natural chemical reaction to the stimuli of the actual world. So whenever we encounter a situation, we have chemicals released in our body that makes us feel stuff, that automatically trigger us to feel happiness, sadness, and complex mix of emotions. Being a machine, yes, her body is designed to it's meant to replicate a human down to the cells, but does it have the same chemical responses and output that a regular person does? Because without that chemical output, then there's no emotion behind your thoughts. There's just thoughts, and I imagine that's what our protagonist she's feeling the thoughts but they're hollow because she doesn't have the feelings and the chemicals to back up her feelings.
I would have to disagree. I don't think that's why. I think there is an inner conflict, but I don't think it's her struggle to be more human. I think she wants to be. She doesn't know what she wants really. She's kind of lost until. She's just sort of like a drone. She's a puppet of the authority, But I see what you're getting, and I can see how. I mean, that's one of the great things about the movie because you don't really know. I mean, you don't really know what's going on. It's like a mystery. You put it together after a while, but
well, I think the kind of robotic feel that they have to her. I mean, because first of all, this is a film noir movie. I mean, if you have light coming into your bedroom, it doesn't look like that. This is black all over the place. I mean, that's completely film noirish.
Wait, and to detective work in it that's very like what you'd see in a film noir.
Yeah, exactly, and high contrast. And also, the one thing that I learned as an artist is when you draw eyes, the top part of it, the top part of the pupil, you don't see that because that's because if you do see it, you look like that. You look like you're mesmerized.
Yeah. And it's a cone with shadows hitting.
Well, in this movie, I think it's part of like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think in this movie it basically presents her as being like robotic and
like a doll.
A doll, and they even did the same kind of look to these girls, because they look like they're hypnotized there, So I don't know if it's just a thing for women in this movie, although the interpreter, her eyes were closed. But I think it does push the whole kind of humanless kind of feel to a lot of these characters, that this scene here, this whole thing, the equivalent to Blade Runner, is also in the score because the score for this movie is fantastic. And so unlike Blade Runner, however. They actually, first off, she sees a woman that looks just like her, and
with even the same haircut.
Yes.
Yeah, that reminds me. When I saw that scene, it reminded me straight out of that part in the second Blade Runner movie where, what's his name? The main character,
Joe.
Is that his name? Joe sees the giant version of his dead AI girlfriend that looks exactly like her in the advertisement.
Well, it's a different. It might be a different thing there because. In Blade Runner, it's a punch to the face of Joe, telling him that the quote unquote woman that he was in love with is just a product, No,
I know.
And but however, one thing I did notice, a guy on YouTube was cool enough to point this out, is when Coco was dying, and when the gigantic version of it's not. Was it Joy? I can't even think of the name. The name of the girl that he fell in love with. I can't think of her name, but the giant version of her and Coco as he's dying, their eyes are completely black. So that in that particular instance, that's to show you that they don't have a soul. Granted, the cool thing was with the girlfriend at home. Obviously, she had pupils and she was a lot more lifelike. And who knows what this means in here?
I actually have an idea.
Maybe it means that like her body, not dimensions, but her body style is also something you could buy. Basically,
this just came to me. So you know how the Puppet Master is a plant to infiltrate, to manipulate. What if this is the same situation where this duplicate that Major Kusanagi sees is a corporate plant, like a spy? What if these puppets are all over the country, over the city, just among the populace, and they're there to infiltrate, to gather data, to pretty much be a spy all over the country, all over corporations? What if this is the case where they have a whole bunch of these, and she's just another puppet with a maybe artificial or real brain in her, doing bidding for some big organization, keeping track and notes on all the corporations? You never know. Could be a spy. That just came to me.
Well, in order for that to have, I guess, credibility, I guess we would need some evidence of that. I don't know if there is. I didn't see any of that in the movie, but I didn't.
There's not. There would be nothing to signify it, but it's just a funny thought that came into my mind. Like,
Just
what
a,
if?
a fan theory kind of thing.
Fan theory. Because,
Okay.
same haircut, same look.
I mean, she looks very similar, and one of the reasons it did remind me of the Blade Runner, like what Pascal said. I was going to say, yeah, the sentiment of like what is, but the angle you had it at before, because the face in Blade Runner was slightly more above Ryan Gosling in it. It was kind of like looming over it.
What do you mean, like this, or what are you talking about?
No, the one you had it on originally, where
She's looking at herself.
She's looking up.
Oh, this.
Well, we're looking up. This is from her POV.
Okay.
At a version of her, which honestly could be. I mean, her figure could be store bought. I mean, she could be like, we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was saying.
No, that's what I was trying to say when I originally.
One thing about being store bought is that she's a very new invention where it seems like this is very high tech, new technology where this is only assigned to the government, to special units.
This is why you think this is a spy.
Yes, because
she's like, how many more of me are there?
Yeah, because we're not at a point where this technology is commercially available. This is only like limited to government.
Well, that notion, that notion that she's a new model.
Yeah.
That's in the movie, in the 2017 movie. In here, there's no Aramaki Bato, the scientists at Section 9. They don't mention anything about her being like a new model. The only kind of evidence we have of that is her seeing herself. So it's not explored in here, but in the movie, I don't know how I feel about that, because at the beginning, the woman scientist who is kind of nice to her is fighting with the guy who owns her, and he's like, he says she's the future of my company. She's a product, and he wants her inactive out fighting with Section 9, and the scientist is like, that's too early, man. And he goes, I want her out there. She's the future of my company. So the guy is just a corporate greedy guy, So in the movie, yes, she's a new model, but in here, we can only speculate.
Yeah.
But yeah, her looking at herself. Now that's another problem too. I don't know if this is this is an actual event in a movie or if it's something imagined.
So you're saying you think this is more like the unicorn scene from Blade Runner?
Possibly.
Where it's like happening in because
possibly
this whole like water thing is very dreamlike.
Well, this whole section is with the music.
No, I mean everything about it is hypnotic. It reminds me of that old '60s movie Playtime, where it's just like shots of future metropolis city. The same mood where it's very meditative.
I'll have to look that up. Okay.
Yeah, it's classic.
Okay, cool. So one thing that is not in the book and is in here that is, of course, very iconic is the construction of Kusanagi. I mean, this is just beautiful stuff,
Yeah, some of the stuff, they're like memes nowadays. I mean, many kids will see them on there, probably don't know, haven't seen the movie. Especially the typing scene where you see all the other little fingers come out of the fingers. Fast typing.
Oh, that is that's a different scene. That's
no, for sure. I'm just saying that's also become sort of like a cultural, like a glyph. Like it's like almost a meme that's out there that you see on the internet. And I don't think people will necessarily know it's from this movie, but it's just out there.
People made into a GIF, and it's been floating around the internet for a decade now. So everybody's seen it at some point or another. Without knowing the source.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's one of the first one that comes up a lot of times when, like, a default when you send like a funny message to somebody.
Okay, so the thing that was almost freaky was the fact that Section 6 created that cyborg body, and they created it as a lure to confine and trap the puppet master. And this whole time, they thought that the puppet, for a particular amount of time. Okay, now that I'm saying it, Dr. Willis and the programmer that was defecting, they created this program, but somewhere along the line, when the remains of the robot, the cyborg, was at Section 9, and Nakamura and Aramaki were talking about it, Aramaki says, you guys created this robot so that the puppet master can go in there, and then you killed the human person you thought was the puppet master. But in the meantime, Dr. Willis and the programmer created the puppet master. So did Section 6 think there was a human puppet master, or was it just a program?
Yeah, they well, I mean, that was at least the cover story, and it seems like at least some people thought it was a human thing, because that might even be a plot hole too.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the programmer is Mizuo Daita. I couldn't think of the name, but the freaky thing about it is, so they got what this movie is implying is that you could put your consciousness into a machine, if I get the themes correctly. So this guy supposedly put his consciousness into the cyber robot, and then Section 6 killed his body. Hold on.
That was the plot of the movie, not the.
No. This is, believe me, I went piece by piece. Okay. And also the problem is, so they killed the body, and now the thing is, what you find out, at least in one part of it, is that they killed someone that was hacked by the puppet master. So they essentially, Section 6 killed an innocent man, basically.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, lots of innocent people got killed.
Yeah.
But are you saying the puppet master was a real human at some point?
One part of the movie says he was human. He put himself into the body. Section 6 killed him. Then you find out that he was hacked, just like the garbage man.
Exactly.
Were hacked, Right. So it's a disturbing notion that they killed an innocent man. Is basically.
I think a few people died that probably shouldn't have died in this thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, when Bato first noticed Corgi, the guy shot back at him, and a few bystanders got popped.
Yeah.
So
Section 6. To cover up their tracks, they're willing to go to the extreme, because they convinced Section 9 to pretty much do their dirty work and kill the man in the beginning of the movie trying to get to be a defector. So they're
Mizuho Daita, the programmer.
Yes.
They don't have a name for the dignitary. Yeah.
So they were willing to go to do whatever it takes to cover up their tracks, make sure that they're not exposed, and their creation stays a mystery.
Yeah, well, that's it. One thing Kusanagi mentioned is, so they, when after the body was stolen from Section 9, Nakamura and Dr. Willis have a conversation, and by that conversation you clearly knew that, they set up the body in order to confine the puppet master. They didn't expect it to end up in Section 9. So now, when they came into the lab, they had those two invisible guys set up there to steal the body. They were always intending on stealing the body. What they didn't expect was for the puppet master to say that he wants asylum, or declare that he's an individual that should have rights as a life form. And so they kind of made it almost, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but at the moment when he said that he wanted asylum, that's when the keyboards exploded in front of the scientists for Section 9. They put the smoke bombs and they stole the body, So they kind of made it seem as if the declaration, the desire for asylum was why they went into action, but they were always going to steal the body anyway.
It's just good timing, good action.
Yeah, so it's
suspense.
So I think that's it for me, unless you guys have more. I mean, we could go all day. There's so many themes in this movie, but
there's definitely one more thing I wanted to talk about.
That part we were talking about, reminds me of that Star Trek episode where Data's on trial for being an android. He's like, basically they're trying to figure out the legality of an AI or a cybernetic entity.
Do you mean Do you mean the episode where a guy wanted to dismantle?
Yeah,
him?
that
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That sort of sentiment reminded me of that entire episode. This is like a way more action-packed version of the
that.
Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this movie sets up a lot of themes in the future as far as like cyberpunk stuff, because this is one of the great granddaddies, or maybe we should call it a grandmother, grandmommies of. It's just like this Neuromancer and Blade Runner. They set the standard for all future cyberpunk.
Well, there's
stuff.
there's a book that I've been told I should read, and shoot, I can't think of. Snow Crash?
Oh, Snow Crash is great.
Yeah, I've heard I should read that.
You should. You'd
Yeah.
like it. It's very. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of the same sentiment. I feel like Snow Crash is great too because it came out like maybe 10 or 15 years after this movie. One thing that this movie does really well is sort of like turn science fiction-y things that have come to fruition at the time, sort of address those issues in a way that doesn't come off completely cheesy, like the Enterprise does from the 1960s Star Trek
Yeah.
show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like even like 20 years from now.
Well,
people still
it's
watch
so
this.
absurd that Star Trek Discovery is supposed to be before the time of William Shatner. I'm like, are you kidding? It's so ridiculous. And unfortunately, the thing that dates this movie, because this is 2029, and the guy is using like phone booths, basically.
Well, that's sort of a noir cyberpunk.
No,
You
that's
see
fine.
that a
I'm
lot.
just saying, unfortunately,
no.
they just didn't foresee the cell phone.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, aesthetic, that didn't really throw. The only thing that kind of dates this movie, I think, is the 3D stuff that happens every once in a while. Where they have the 3D scan of the brain. You're like, come on, that looks like a 90s, created. I mean, like I watched even on the shitty VHS version I watched. It really stands out a lot. I can imagine watching this in 4K unless they cleaned it up and being.
I don't know. Let's see. Because I don't think it's that's not that bad.
Yes, it is. Come on. I mean, that looks so like.
Well, the thing is, I
1995.
think what this is.
I mean, it's not bad. It just looks like the time what CGI could do
Well,
at the time. You know.
I kind of
think-
had
I
that
think
thought
that-
too when I saw it. I was like, that looks kind of dated, but it's a cool effect.
No, it is. It's a cool effect, but it's the only thing to me that dates the movie in terms of
Yeah.
that looks old. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, what this looks like to me, because you see how pixelated that is and stuff, and this stuff is clear. I think what this is meant to be is like, when you try to take a picture of a monitor and you get a weird kind of moire pattern.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
Well,
I don't
sure.
think
Yeah,
that's supposed to be
the
totally
screen
clear.
distortion.
Exactly.
Well,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking at a monitor. There's lots of it looks like they're looking at a closed circuit.
'Cause-
that looks totally digital. But there's lots of scenes in the movie where they look like they're looking through closed circuit TVs. And you
Yeah,
see
that's
sort
what
of
that feels
lines.
like, 'cause that's
absolutely.
just-
I mean,
yeah.
but at the same time, that's not what a monitor rendition would look like in 2029. You know what I mean? I mean, it looks better now today.
I guess. Certainly in the 2017 movie, I'm sure they made that look better.
And it might have been more relatable to the people during the time rather than envisioning the future, because people can automatically say, hey, something looks funny about this. This looks way too digital. Oh, this must be a computer program. It's kind of like making the identification that makes sense to the people of the time.
Well, not only that, but this was cutting edge at the time.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
You know, this is state of the art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for them, this was super futuristic.
But-
to us now, it's
but, you
very
know,
retro.
That's the only thing that kind
Yeah.
of took me out of the movie. The other thing, I don't know what version you guys saw, but I watched the English dub with the subtitles. I don't know if you guys watched the English dub.
yeah.
I mean,
I always watch Japanese with subtitles in English.
With
Yeah.
the subtitles. Okay. Well, I guess the English dub is really bad for this, unless there's a better one. The only thing I watch, because it's really, it's
Yeah, I see. I don't know how. I know DreamWorks really did a crappy job with Part 2. I don't know how Part 1 was treated. As far as
It wasn't bad.
It's-
I watched
it's-
it,
what?
but it was
Well,
it was good.
I'm
It-
kind of
it
curious
was-
if there's a better version that came out since because I watched probably the 1995 version. It's probably been maybe updated. I would. I know there's been a new movie. Not that many people like. So I thought it was okay. But I would have loved to see a version of this movie dubbed with the actors from the live action remake. Like I would love to hear Scarlett Johansson
Yeah,
over
that'd be great.
over this. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Especially
Well-
compared to the version I saw.
The best that it's been done as far as translating movies is what John Lasseter did with Studio Ghibli. I mean, they brought in, Christian Bale, and they brought in Patrick Stewart and all that stuff, so.
Amazing talent.
But as far as I know, DreamWorks has not treated this franchise too well. At least not with Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence, so. So we could discuss that movie, unless you guys want to discuss more of this.
One thing I also want to throw in is that, just like mentioned at the very beginning by Ernest, is that this movie can easily fit into the whole universe of all the movies combined, of all the science fiction technological movies like Blade Runner, Cyberpunk the video game, all the board games affiliated with it in the books. It seems like all of those movies, all these subjects can exist in the same universe in specific point and timeline. It's
For sure,
beautiful.
this could be a prequel to The Matrix or
Yeah.
something, you know what I mean?
Blade Runner.
Well, the
2,
Wachowskis
Nemesis.
definitely were.
Even
Oh, yeah.
even
Were influenced
Aliens.
by-
Even Aliens, because that's connected to Blade Runner.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see all this.
Yeah, it does fit in perfectly
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
it's a beautiful universe. It's a grim, very dark universe, but that's kind of our reality.
Well, I think this is like definitely like sort of like a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
kind of like just like all these cyberpunk things. But this is probably the most maybe optimistic post-apocalyptic
Mm-hmm.
movie I've ever seen.
Well-
and it's definitely the most the anime that has the most depth that I've ever. That has more like philosophical depth than any other anime.
Well,
out
the
there,
problem with the term post-apocalyptic is we're looking at Mad Max.
Yeah.
Where people.
Well, I mean,
no.
there was
but-
like World War I and World War II before this all happened.
No,
right?
but
Wasn't there bombs?
as far as I understood it, post-apocalyptic means the Book of Eli. Where things are on the like it's really rugged.
Yeah,
and this is Blade Runner. Things as filthy as they are, it's civilization still.
Yeah. It's
That
progression.
we don't have flying cars, but that's the only thing that's missing in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we go on second movie?
What movie do you want to do?
No, Ghost in the Shell 2.
Oh,
a sense.
I didn't watch Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Okay,
haven't
fine.
seen
That's
it.
fine. You guys, okay. So we can discuss the movie at the 2017 at all. If not, I mean,
Yeah,
you don't-
I haven't watched that one since it came out.
okay, okay. I guess we're done then. The books at all? You guys will discuss those at all?
Haven't read them.
Okay,
Wish
right.
I would. I want to.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Unless there's anything else you could discuss.
Oh yeah,
Hold
we
on,
can
give
go
me a
on
second, there was-
forever on this, but
Because
Yeah,
I
with that-
believe, let me see, one thing that was interesting in the discussion that the Puppet Master had with Kusanagi at the end. So she asked him why he picked her, and his answers were never completely direct, but she was afraid that she was going to die in this process, and because of what she was going to become once they combined. And one of the things he said was, your desire to remain yourself will continue to restrict you.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So it's funny how all these things come together. So us humans in our daily life, our existence, we try to find out who we are, discover ourselves, because we always feel like something is missing. Society puts ideas and images into our mind, making us feel and think that we need to become something in particular. But the truth is that our goal in existence is not to find out and become our ultimate self. The goal of existence is to procreate and keep our race going, which is funny how the show, that's the note that it ends on, that in the end, it doesn't matter what you are and what you've become. The point is to keep life going on and on beyond yourself. You are just a brick in the road when it comes to the path of civilization and of life.
I think it has that sentiment towards just humanity.
Yes.
And this is sort of like a transhumanist kind of movie where it's inviting you to embrace technology in a way that's really, really scary. Because elements of this movie that are great, like the meme we were talking about, has a lot of body horror kind of like for somebody who is not familiar with this kind of genre, that's really scary looking. You know, it's kind of like it's still kind of freaky to look at. You know what I mean?
It can be put in a horror movie and be just as effective.
Right. But I think what this movie's kind of trying to say is that stuff is scary, but and you either embrace, you roll with the changes, or you get left in the dust. Just like Section 6, which obviously doesn't do as well as Section 9 at the end of this. Although I would like to mention at the end of this movie, one of the things that's kind of freaky to me, where they put Homegirl's head back on a different body.
A little girl, because that's what he could only find.
I know, but that kind of implies that the only bodies available on the black market are little children.
Yeah.
And what are they doing on the black market with little children robot bodies?
Exactly. It's like pedophilia, I guess.
That's kind of implied, like heavy pedophilia in this universe, which
Well, the
it definitely puts weird ideas into your mind. Wait a minute.
Right before that too. When she's trying to lift the lid off the tank and she rips her arms off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Couldn't she have just not done that and kept her arms?
Yeah. Well, let me get to that in a second. Now, this is what happens at the end in the book. She's got an adult body.
Okay.
And one thing that I felt when I heard the dialogue at the end, she wakes up in a small body and she goes, I want an explanation with this bizarre body. And she says something equally ungrateful in the book. And this is what he says. That's all you can say, And that, to me, on several occasions in the movie, in the 1995 movie, she does seem like a kind of not selfish, but ungrateful person. And then Bato is kind of codependent. He's always trying to, because when she came out of the water and he goes, you could have drowned down there. And she's like, dude, you didn't have to come here, Yeah.
You know what's funny? Even people and kids, they're always insecure in their own body because she didn't have no choice in it. She was put in it. It's almost like us being born and growing up in a body and not accepting who we are, how we look, and being very defiant and want to control the vision of what we are and how we're perceived. And I think that's where the ungratefulness came from. It's like not having control and not having say, just waking up to a world and you being you in the body you have. And it's, I think it's a very directorial, made by the director.
Yeah, and I'm wondering why exactly they picked a girl, but it's those themes you mentioned, basically.
Yeah. So another funny thing is because she did reproduce. Herself is no longer herself. She's a hybrid. She's a newborn person.
I mean, that's one of the themes of this movie, birthing.
It was actually a great directorial choice to make her be put into a child's body, as if to emphasize that she's reborn.
Absolutely.
Well, at the end in here, she does say, the very last thing she says is that she's neither the puppet master or Kusanagi.
Yeah.
Right. She's a synthesis of both, which is kind of like the whole point of the movie.
The child.
But,
she's a child.
So the Puppet Master won, which is kind of
that's
what he wanted.
See, that's why this movie is super interesting. Because the bad guy turns out to be really the only choice that we have as humanity, is either evolving. There's that point at the end of the movie, in the climax, where the tank shoots up a tree of evolution, evolutionary tree, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's sort of like a metaphor for the sentiments in this movie.
Well, the ironic thing is, though, when Section 9, the helicopter was there with its snipers, the only reason that Kusanagi is still in one piece is because they shot the cyborg body of the Puppet Master, blew its head off, and then the only reason why Kusanagi's head is still intact is because Bato put his arm over it, and he destroyed his arm and deflected the shot and hit her neck, and the head flew, and that head contained the Puppet Master and Kusanagi, and that's the only reason she's still alive.
Right. Yeah. But when she tries to pull off the lid of the tank and rips off her arms.
Yeah. It's funny because narratively, as far as the story, it's kind of what the hell is this for? And then, I mean, granted, they used the guy in there, and this is something they did take from the book. They used the guy in there to connect Kusanagi with the puppet master, but I guess she was trying to defeat.
I mean, she was doing pretty good up until she ripped her own arms off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was a last resort. She had no weapons left. She had nothing to. It was a tank. The only way to get in is, I guess, rip the doors open because that was the only thing.
I feel like
It's-
Nero would have figured out what to
Another thing. So if the whole story began with us following the puppet master and as if he was the main character of the story, we would actually be cheering and rooting on him, even if he was doing nefarious things like manipulating people
do. I
and
mean,
controlling
he
people.
was doing nefarious
Yeah.
things. He was possessing
Yeah.
people and making them do things
And killing
against their
people.
will.
Yeah.
Well, did he kill him? I think that
I think
section 6 definitely killed some
Yeah.
of them.
Well, he
Section
didn't.
9.
He didn't mention murder as one of his acts, but I think we can imply that.
I'm
But-
sure they
Because
deserved it, whoever he murdered.
It's a redemption story. It's about a being, artificial being, or possibly real being, in a cybernetic body and existence. It being a spy, it being a tool for the government, a tool for evil, nefarious things,
Yeah.
for spying, to trying to realizing its consciousness and then breaking free, making its own decisions, to essentially seeing that Section 6 and what's the company that made the Puppet Master, Cybertech? Possibly?
The company that made him.
Yeah.
I think it's Section 6, and it's Dr. Willis and
Cybertech
Daita.
was okay,
but I don't think that there's a name for the
okay.
company. Yeah.
must be getting confused with something else.
I think you're thinking of the Terminator Cybertime.
Probably.
Megatech created the components for Bato
Megatech. Thank
Kusanagi
you.
and the cyborg
Yes.
body.
So
Yeah.
maybe the
Like-
Puppet Master was trying to kill Section 6 and all the people involved in because he saw that, hey, they're the bad guys, they're the evil guys, they're trying to spy on everybody, they're trying to
Right, which
So-
probably is initially what made it consciousness. This realization that it itself was created to do nefarious
Yes.
things. It kind of reminds me. I mean, in some ways, Stephen King totally ripped off the theme of this for the movie The Lawnmower Man. You know, where that guy. Did you ever see The Lawnmower Man?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. The Lawnmower Man's about this guy who's mows lawns, and he gets one of the James Bond guys puts him in a virtual reality thing, and he kind of gets smarter and smarter throughout the course of the movie, and it turns out he's kind of like bonding with this like cybernetic, kind of like what's happening in this movie. The synthesis is happening, and it's kind of greater than human and machine, you know.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan is in it, and it's a great movie. You should watch it, Mario. Stephen King.
Definitely.
But yeah, by the end of it, you have kind of what I guess might happen in this movie, where the Lawnmower Man has control of all of these modems and
Well, unfortunately, Stephen King sued to get his name removed.
oh, from the movie.
Yeah. So, and also,
There was like 2 or 3 sequels to that too, right?
I think so.
Although I'm kind of curious, why did she have to take off all her clothes to jump off the building? at the
Yeah.
beginning?
The
It
camouflage
was
suit.
gratuitous nudity.
But she was wearing just a cloak though before, and she wasn't nude, right?
Yeah.
Or after. I mean.
Obviously, they didn't do that in the 2017 movie, which would have been great, but it is gratuitous, and it's like, who cares, man? It's like, yeah, because the cyborg body from Megatech was naked, and and when they put all that electricity in her in Section 9 to activate her, she's like, she's kind of gyrating and stuff, and you see her breasts shaking and all that
Absolutely,
stuff.
yeah.
So it's all.
It's a very
yeah.
disturbing part of the movie, and it's great.
Yeah, she does also have that kind of mesmerized look on her face too, which is kind of fun. In the second movie, they Kusanagi doesn't show up there until the end, and she doesn't even look like herself.
Well, she's not
It's-
supposed
I mean, she
to,
can
right?
look like anything now, right?
I know, but it's like
Well,
She's
Kusanagi
like
is not
Doctor Who.
Kusanagi no more. She doesn't really exist. She's a new person completely.
She's puppet Kusanagi.
she looks just like the I
Is this
I
from the video? This is from the new movie.
this
The
is
TV show?
the Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence.
Oh wow, it looks completely
Yeah, I
different.
don't know.
Exactly.
It looks similar, but you know,
Well-
the thing is that if this is a new body and she got to choose her new body, then that's her new body because you know she's a shell. She can put herself in the body she wants to.
She's literally the
and that's
ghost
her.
and the shell.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't have it here, but the problem is that Bato gets into a compound. I'm not even quite sure exactly what the villain is because it's a weird thing going on with it. But he's in this compound trying to get to it, and there's a bunch of love dolls that fall from the ceiling.
Love dolls.
And Bato is the only person who's got ammo strong enough to destroy him, to defeat them, because there's a SWAT team and they get ravaged easily. Their bullets don't do nothing. But not only does he have a weapon that kills him, at one point one comes so close to him that he couldn't get to his weapon, so he's got a weapon inside his arm. You know, so that's kind of cool. But the thing is,
Like, make him-
these sex dolls, which is what I think they are, they come down from the ceiling and they try to kill him and those guys. Kusanagi hacks one of those, so she's just another one of these millions of sex dolls. So that, you know, I don't know. I just
isn't that the plot to Cherry 2000, Cherry 3000?
Again, the black market, right?
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah. So okay, here we go. I think, yeah, there you go. That's so. There's a bunch of them, and she's just one of them.
Oh, okay.
So there's nothing special about her in here. The most impressive part of this movie is some of the animation is incredible, and the equivalent to the overture in the 1995 movie is a parade, and this stuff is just beautiful.
But you know, her being in the same body as the sex dolls
Yeah.
is actually it's also the same as in the original movie on the boat with the music scene, her seeing possibly herself, if she did see herself, her own self inside the building looking down at her. This is actually referencing back to that.
You think?
Yeah, because nothing's original. You're a ghost. You can be in any shell you want, and you're in the shell that is most convenient.
Maybe it implies too that the most common shell is a sex doll. So those are the ones that are everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just think it's a directorial mistake, basically, myself.
Possibly.
Because because she doesn't show up till the very end. Granted, like I said, the animation's amazing. It's painfully boring at some parts. You know, I saw it twice, but you know, I had to sit through the bore stuff. And the thing that kills me, one of the most impactful parts of the movie that you see in the trailer is a hallucination by Togusa. So they shouldn't even have put in a trailer.
That's what trailers do nowadays. They put in so much extra crap.
Deceitful.
Yeah,
Deceitful.
because they just try to wow the audience to lure them in. Just like remember Star Wars? What was it? Rogue One with the TIE fighter flying up with the main character looking directly at it. When at the very end of Star Wars, when they were trying to get the plans of the Death Star sent.
1977. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they were trying to send the the newer version.
Rogue One.
Rogue One. Yes.
Okay.
When in the trailer, the initial trailer, there was a cool scene where, in the end of the movie, the main character was on a platform.
And there was a
on top
TIE
of the
fighter
roof.
coming
Yes.
at her. Okay. We could actually do a whole podcast on that because Kathleen Kennedy is the head of Lucasfilm. She is the worst thing that's ever come to Star Wars. She hires you as a director, you do your business, she comes in and reshoots everything. So half of the stuff you saw in the trailer was never put in the final movie. The Rogue One is the equivalent of a clock that stops working, that's correct twice in one day by coincidence.
Yeah.
As bad as she was, the people, like the hardcore people who hate the Disney trilogy, you could find a big chunk of them who like Rogue One. Rogue One, you know. So that was the only thing that got a pass, basically. But okay, I think that's it. Oh, the last thing I want to say is, oh, here we go. Now this stuff here was in the trailers. This and this here, that too, and it's all a hallucination in Togusa's mind. That pissed me off when I found out about that. You know?
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
It's deceitful. You
Yeah.
think you're gonna get more.
Yes.
You wonder what is that about, and it turns out to be just.
It's not. It's
Nothing.
hallucinated.
Yeah. What would you guys score the movie?
Oh, okay. We could do it live instead of okay. Oh, that plot hole kills me. 9 out of 10.
Ten out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
10. Just to me, it was pure perfection.
We got
That's
a first
such a
perfect
good
score
movie.
here, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna go at 8.9, but yeah.
Wow, that's good, man. Like, cause the harshest critic is Ernest over here.
I don't think I'm a harsh critic.
Yes,
I think
you
I'm-
are.
I think I'm fair.
Yeah.
Even with
Yeah,
the
you
fact.
didn't like Blade Runner 2049, and you
It's not that I
gave
didn't like it. I mean, it's just
you gave
I like this one way more than Blade Runner, though.
and you
I think
gave
it's got more
you gave
more-
Dune 6 out of 10.
Well, it's like half a movie. I should have given it 3 because it's only half a movie.
Fantastic.
Given the other 3 to the other half, right, or the other 4. Well, hopefully the other one is at least a 7, right?
And you know what's funny? The first few times I watched this movie, I kept falling asleep. I couldn't watch the movie all the way through. But even though that being a fact, and once I did watch it all the way through, I still feel it's a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
It's just art, direction, style, even its monotone feeling matched the movie and the character and what she's going through. It was very impactful to me. The music, the score,
Music's
just
great.
10 out of 10. Just the art, everything. It's just I can't give it any lower than a 10.
Okay, cool. For some inexplicable reason, Kusanagi is not in the movie until the final act. And when she does show up, she embodies a sex doll. So the iconic look that she has in the books and in the first movie are also not in the film. Big mistakes in my opinion. Unfortunately, I found the movie painfully boring at some parts, and an iconic scene in the trailer is a hallucination by Togusa. So as explosive as the action is in the clip, it never happens in the plot. But the animation is arguably the best I've ever seen, especially during the parade and the final battle scene between Bato and the sex dolls. Sometimes it's impossible to tell the difference between what is computer generated and what was hand-drawn. I did not enjoy the film very much. I really liked the amazing design of the robot geishas and the skin-tight suit Scarlett Johansson wore during her missions. She is a perfect casting person for the role. It was a bizarre decision to have actor Takeshi Kitano speak Japanese throughout the entirety of the movie, while others spoke English in response to him. Visually, the film is beautiful. The comparisons it has received to Blade Runner are appropriate, considering all of the cyberpunk city hologram advertising and the futuristic design of the environments. I feel that director Rupert Sanders badly mixed elements together from the 1995 and 2004 animated films. In the opening scene, the geishas from Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence are essentially placed at the meeting that happened at the beginning of the 1995 film, along with the firefight there, and also the secret meeting with the Gavel Republic. This borrowing from animation into live action effort was done much better with 2019's Alita Battle Angel. Lastly, the tank showing up at the end felt awkward since that machine is never introduced anywhere at the beginning or middle sections of the movie. The director needed to arrange the involvement of that mech the same way Paul Verhoeven did with the Ed 209 unit in his first RoboCop film. He had an impactful introduction for this robot near the beginning of the film, which made its attack against Murphy in the final act effective. Overall, the Scarlett Johansson film is a little boring, drab, and definitely lackluster in contrast to the Mamoru Oshii 1995 film. Incredible art by Masamune Shirow, and unbelievable number of pages created for the novel. The tone of the story is very different than what we see in the movies. The events in the 1995 film are clearly taken from this book, but one of the reasons the details of the film are hard to follow for some viewers is probably because there is so much material that was condensed into the movie. That is definitely the same problem with Akira. I have not yet read that volume, and I discovered its existence last summer, but it contains the same level of amazing art and detailed storytelling. There are less pages here than in the first and second volumes. This book is sadly impossible to read. It is too complicated and too convoluted. Masamune Shirow's art is amazing as usual, and I am impressed at the sheer size of this book, but the story is too hard to follow. Only the Evangelion movies are more complicated.